Thanks.
Okay, so we are talking about how can we do something like A/B testing or just allow UX to easily test and experiment with new workflows of any kind. So
yeah.
One suggestion that I had is that we have a percentage of actor, and one of the actor is the user. So except for anonymous user that at the moment they are just one user. So everyone that is logged out is just the same user, but it can be, we can implement this distinction also there. We have the percentage of user. It has nice property, that's nice, which is if we don't change the percentage of the rollout, we still get the same people. So it's not random based. Mm-hmm. It's not 25% of requests, but is, let's say, the first 25% of user is not really, there's mm-hmm. a CRC involved, there's some hashing, but the point is that if you are in a bucket, let's say you are in the first 5% of user, then you get every feature flag that has percentage of actor above 5. The problem though is that there's no way for us to say, please opt in for this kind of experiment. In that case, it has to be part of the application. So application must understand.
So the thing I'm thinking about right now is that we are quite limited by having this as part of the application. And I'm going to suggest something that is really, really dumb, most likely. And you're going to have to tell me it's not possible.
Okay.
What I'm thinking is the way we handle Canary is both path-based and cookie-based. So we direct traffic to a certain path, but also we redirect people with a certain cookie.
Yep.
So what if we say that UX can easily, using chat ops, using whatever command, say, I want 20% of the total traffic to go to this experiment by setting this cookie.
By experiment, you mean a new stage?
A new page, for example, or a new part of the page. It doesn't matter, inside of the code base itself.
Oh, so it's inside,
behave
okay.
differently. It would behave differently based on the cookie. So it would check something in the cookie and say, oh, I found this. So that means I'm going to present to you this interface instead.
So it's not a different machine. It's the same code base that has an if somewhere, like if it was a feature flag, but instead of being percentage or user or group or namespace is cookie. So you set the cookie.
Would that make a big difference or no difference at all?
Yeah. It's this, I mean, I don't know how hard it will be at infrastructure level. I think it's, but you don't have to do anything at infrastructure level because it becomes an application problem because the application code reads the cookie. So it's not like it's like Canary in terms of how you configure it. So opt in, opt out, but it's not like Canary in terms of infrastructure because infrastructure doesn't read it. It just sent you to the application, forwards it. So that being said, for UX, it can be good because they mostly are interested in the front end part. As long as there's no backend involved, it really depends. If there are API calls or things like that, then we are back to the situation when you want to be sure that it
goes to the right
that its value as the same information also when you process the feature flag, not the feature, the API request or whatever. I have to say that in this scenario, if it's opt-in, and so it's not just defaulted to certain project or path.
We would not be talking about opt-in. We would be talking about directing certain percent of traffic, and making it transparent to users, meaning they wouldn't even know that they are.
I think we have to inject. The problem that I see here is that we have to inject the cookie so that you get marked as you are part of the 25%. Get the cookie, and so you run the experiment. Otherwise, you have this again, the mixing situation where maybe at a certain point you are marked as part of the experiment and then you are no longer part of it. And I will probably consider having some kind of, let's say, timeout to the experiment, because it's really hard to say, give me 25% of users. What does it mean? Of all the users? So you just you do the feature flag like the actor and say, if you are in 25%,
Right.
set the cookie and then move on. Or it's more about in 3 hour times, we want to reach 1,000 user so that we test it. And so we know how many we marks, and then we stop and we disregard the cookie. I know there are a bit of complexity here, but we can start with something easy, like the first 25% of user get the cookie set, so that we use the percentage of actor. So that basically we rely on our feature flag implementation to set the cookie. And then we read the cookie as part of a conditional for running the test.
That is pretty much how the front end feature flag works, doesn't it? I think it's the same.
Yeah, it's kind of. Well, the feature flag front end is that we push the feature flags to the view, so that the view can make use of it. And now here we will have to push not the feature flag, but I mean, cookie can be read directly in front end. You don't have to push it. But the idea is that the servers set the cookie to the users. So it's more about, there are problems like how can we clean up the experiment, things like that, because you get this cookie set and then it's on the client, right? So maybe you just do login, you get the cookie set because you are in the percentage, and then you do nothing. You just log out and get out. And so you just, yeah, I think it can work. It can work. It still requires you to go through the review and get things merged and deployed, etc. But
how about that idea of yours about running, like the thing that we will be able to much easier do in Kubernetes?
Running a box.
What if we have a box?
But you're moving the problem to packaging the software, because what are you going to run there? And how many experiments do you want to run at the same time?
Right, like that's the thing that I was thinking about, right? Like we have review apps, we have packaging QA already building all of these things. So it shouldn't be that much of work to say,
give me production plus this MR and deploy it in this cluster, and then we route.
Yeah. Like it can be, like we can. So what I'm thinking is like there are like a bunch of rules that will need to be set. For example, as soon as you see a DB change, like abort, like you're not allowed to do this. And probably a bunch of other things that are necessary there. Like more complex workflows, like for example, like you need to update Gitly, you need to update like satellite projects, like all of that, we don't want to do. Like we just don't want to care for. But if it's only a front-end like thing, or like back-end and front-end like thing, we could create like some sort of a queue basically and say, all right, someone deployed it, right? Like we gave the click, we redirected some traffic, they ran the experiment, and if someone else comes in and clicks the button for their other merge request, we say there is an experiment running in this merge request or something like that, right? Like some sort of ID that will redirect people to know who to reach out to. And then this way we can have a box that is independently deployed. This is basically Jar's one box idea, the Amazon one box idea, I think, but independent from a regular deployments. Like it's an orphan one box type of thing. It's isolated from everything else. It can be like, the important part is, as long as the experiment runs, you can redirect traffic, but you have to like put some restrictions on time and so on, like how long that can run to make sure that it doesn't drift too far from production, right?
Yeah.
But that, like I'm thinking right now, that could be like very quick to do. Like it wouldn't require. Go ahead.
There's some pushback.
Yeah.
From production, basically from SRE, which is, it may look fine to do something like this, which is kind of the idea that I had for the long term. But what if you start writing, let's say, a JSONB encoded column with a different format, and this doesn't work with the production stage? So you feel empowered to do something like this before getting merged to master, because it seems to be safe, right? But you may affect production database.
But we are talking about UX here, experience.
Yeah, but you know, once the tool is there, someone may click run the thing.
True. I mean, other companies are doing it. Come on. Like.
Yeah. I'm just
connect to the read-only everything. No, that's not going to be a good experience.
Because you can't even log in.
No. Yeah, exactly.
I think
you don't have to log in.
It really depends on what you are experimenting on, right?
True, but you know, it's a first iteration of something. So if you say like you want to experiment on free logged in users and see how do they like this new interface or not, then all of a sudden it doesn't really, well, I guess it matters.
Yeah, but
if they want to click away something like that needs to be saved somewhere, Yeah,
no, it doesn't. It needs to be connected to Patroni, to the main stage, so they can write thing.
If nothing else, Redis minimum as well, so that can
how
pollute.
How far are we from removing the NFS storage mount? Because this is another pain point of this situation, because you may end up starting something that.
No, like that, I wouldn't depend on that too much, mostly because there is a lot of work ongoing right now. So I expect like in the next month to at least maybe not remove it completely from our code base and from our features, but at least not run it in GitLab.com in any meaningful way that is shared between multiple services and so on. Because Grzegorz is working on that.
Okay.
Traces thing. Jakub is working on the removing pages from Puma dependency, right? Like that interaction goes to Psychic isolated. So that part is not going to be my concern. My bigger concern is polluting Redis and database.
Yeah, because they are the touch point with the real production, the main stage.
And even if you say like you want to somehow connect to read-only database, you still want to use Redis. You have to use Redis rather. So, and Redis you can pollute.
Yeah, you can break caching like the incident that we had today. Or...
Yeah, exactly like that. Don't we have namespaces in Redis as well?
No, we don't, which is the idea that I wanted to test for doing the stage affinity for sidekicks.
But I remember either I added or I reviewed changes in Omnibus that allowed us to do namespacing in Redis.
Maybe we have this. Maybe we have a configuration in Omnibus, which may be very interesting, because it means that we don't have to. Wow, this is super, because it means that we don't have to code the queue selection in the Redis cluster wrapper, basically, because you have a middleware because we have those things that we no longer work directly on queue, but we can do the CPU bound, you can do this expression, right? So there is a middleware that converts this into regular queue names.
Yeah.
So when I asked Sean, he told me, yeah, if you can work here and here, and so everything you in queue or everything you the queue you can prepend the stage name there.
Yeah.
But if we have this at omnibus level, it just means that the configuration for, let's talk about canary. Canary stage is you put a prefix there. If it's just a prefix like the namespace, it's perfect because it doesn't. If you say it canary, I mean, I don't expect it to start creating a queue to start with canary in our.
Yeah.
We can still, and this is wow. Just maybe.
I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick, but this is something I remember back in the day when I was actually reviewing a lot of code. Whether we reverted it, that's a different
removed
question.
is,
But yeah, I can't really easily find it. But that might be something worth exploring.
Yeah, sure.
The thing is, the reason why I'm asking all of this, like I told you at the beginning of this conversation, is we want to be able, like, remember the, let's call it an incident of designs, the design feature, right? It was really interruptive. It was really challenging to do for both people using GitLab, but then also for the product team. Like, product team didn't do anything wrong. Their UX team didn't do anything wrong. They, within their own investigation and within their own design, were fine, right? It's just that they didn't really necessarily encounter all of these other workflows that were part of it. And it's hard, especially at the application like GitLab, it's really hard to and like account
to
for
think
all
about
of this.
every angle, because the
It's just
surface is
impossible.
really,
yeah. So, you know, allowing something that is, you know, like non-destructive, non-interactive, even like this, would be really a good opportunity, right? Like, it's not only that it's a feature flag. Feature flag becomes complicated when you have like tens of MRs. Like, it's really hard to keep up with it. But if you start with designing things a bit differently and saying, all right, you know, like, let's just roll this out, deploy it somewhere, divert some of the traffic, like you're suggesting, right? Like, before merging everything in, you could theoretically do that. Much like, you theoretically get more valuable feedback, and we don't have to wait for Kubernetes and even when Kubernetes arrives, it's not going to be trivial for us to do this easily.
no,
you know, that's the thing.
So you're thinking about one single machine, the one box that can run one experiment at a time? So
yeah,
something
one
like
experiment at a time, and configured in such a way that it can take very specific amount of traffic, right? So for example, you can divert 20% of traffic to that VM, for example. Right?
Yeah, but you also have to take into consideration the saturation of that machine. So
correct, right? So maybe within a bound of saturation, you'll be able to direct traffic. Like, as soon as it reaches the bound, like, you cannot change it anymore, right?
There's also
and we don't have
nice
to make
feature.
it. We don't have to make it really user-friendly at the beginning. Like, it can be very like crappy, where you have to create an issue for someone to actually roll this out, right? Like, it's fine. I just want to see whether it's possible. We can work on, like, I'm absolutely certain that if I go with a suggestion somewhere, we test it, and UX finds value in this, product is going to help us out with anything we need to help out, because this would be a game changer for them as well.
Yeah, and this has also another nice improvement in my view, which is this pushes through the idea that it's better for you to merge database changes ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because let's think about the design upload feature, just as an example, right? Design upload feature is something that could have been experimented in this way because you want to tweak something and test, but there's obviously some sidekick node running the transformation. There is backend to store the information. There's a lot of things there. So if you want to run this kind of experiment, this means that you have to prepare the ground.
Have everything in place before you can even. Yeah, that's true. It enforces a different behavior because you can't do anything else.
But if we go at this point, then my point is that if you already have done the hard part, which is thinking ahead of time, preparing your groundwork, etc., then there's no difference in using a feature flag.
Well, sure, there is no difference in using a feature flag. There is a difference in behavior. Right now, the behavior is oh, let's merge it and put it behind a feature flag and get it deployed and then enable the feature flag. So it's very much on off. And then you have to go back to the table, start like hammering again, like, okay, well, this didn't really work. Let's go back. Difference in this case would be you don't merge everything yet, or you prepare the territory. And now for the final piece, you can actually experiment on the go there, right? Like you tweak the interface multiple times, deploy again, get some traffic, get the feedback, get some traffic, get feedback. And then only when you are okay, you then merge things. And then you can decide whether you want to play with the feature flag for everyone or not. But up until that point, you had much faster cycle to iterate on, right?
Yeah,
That's
but
the difference.
Is it really true that it's faster? Because we deploy the next day, right? So once the preparation work is in place, and you have just a feature flag with the first scrap iterate.
It is different because, like, at least in my head, it is different because it is the next day. You are a developer. You know
do you
what
expect
that means.
it can't be faster? Think about what we have now, right? You want to package something on top of what we have and deploy it.
Alessio, there is a difference. The difference is you
machine.
circumvent the whole review cycle, the whole waiting time. That's the difference. And I'm not saying that I want to circumvent the review cycle because I think it's not working or blah, blah, blah. It is because if we put all the constraints in, then the review cycle doesn't need, for this type of information, it's not strictly necessary at that stage, right?
I do agree.
It is necessary at a stage where you want to ship it, right? But when you want to get the data back from your experiment while you're working on it, the 2-hour wait time is fine, or 3-hour wait time. Even if it's 4-hour wait time, that's a half a day cycle in which you can experiment and not wait for a reviewer, reviewer, and so on.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah, I do agree there.
Well, I think I planted this idea in your head just before you're going on a vacation, which is great because that means something will probably come out of it when you come back and say like, hey, man, I remember this conversation. And how about we do these 3 things and we're done? Or 2.
Or maybe I come back and you already prepared everything and it's already, yeah. Sure.
I brought half of the code. I just wanted to rubber duck. Yeah, no. I wish this was way simpler. It's not, but I think there are a lot of problems I see with this, a lot of problems. But then this is a sure way for us to reduce some of these cycles in a controlled way, and then also enforce, well, the thing that we need to enforce anyway, and that is like more methodical thinking about data structure. But then we also have an encouragement of why we are doing this for this specific case.
Yeah, given that we touched this topic, the real challenge that I see now in this, and is the major source of pushback in the thing that I'm doing, is that now that we have better tooling around deployment and we are closer to continuous delivery, we have very short development and deployment cycle, people lose the focus on the monthly release, which is the only thing that we ship to customer, but that it has to be, again, it has to support 0 downtime deployment.
Yeah, but that's why we don't want Canary to go away, and we don't want to make it 100% more robust, right? So like that's why I'm pushing back on fixing all Canary problems, because yes, there are problems, but they are uncovering bigger issues that we have.
Yeah, but again, the point is that if you want to deploy something with no outages on GitLab.com, you can do this in 3 days. Let's say it's a big change that is not backward compatible.
Yeah, I see.
You can deploy in 3 days.
Still can cause an outage in a month time. Yeah.
And that's the problem, right? That it will cause the outage on the customer. Now we have a longer period of time of exposure because we have Canary, which is hours.
Yep.
But again, it's a product decision, right? We have a product decision
it's an edge case waiting to happen, right?
Yeah. And then support will say, why this was not tested on GitLab.com? Yeah, because we deployed in chunks day by day, and we never experienced that problem.
Still, this is a bit of a tangential.
Yeah,
topic
tangential,
because,
right, yeah.
Because here my question was about how do we make the experiments on .com faster?
Yeah, sure. But it's just, if the experiment results in a breaking change in the UI, then because you were able to iterate day by day, even half day by half day, then still on the 22nd, the thing may cause the outage. It really depends on what you are working on, but it may.
Yeah, it could be, yeah. Okay, well, thanks for rubber ducking with me, Alessio.
Welcome.
Feel free to share this recording. I don't think it's gonna bring anyone any value, but maybe someone else has any ideas and are willing to share.
Okay, sure, I will.
All right, I'll chat with you soon.
Bye. Have a good one.